we are live now. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Sachin Gupta, and I'll be your host for today's special discussion titled Evolution of Healthcare Systems with a drill down on diagnostic industry in India. With me, we have a very young and dynamic healthcare leader, Hasmukh Rawal, who is founder of a company called My Life Discoveries. He's based out of Pune. Uh, we'll be discussing how diagnostic industry in India has evolved over the last few years, especially within last 6 months. But before that, I'll request Hasmukh to introduce himself. Yes.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. I'm Hasmukh Rawal, Managing Director with MyLab Discovery Solutions Private Limited. We are a company with primary focus on molecular diagnostic solution, along with our work in the area of serology, majorly into rapid tests, which are currently served in a big way to Indian market, as well as automation, as well as we are working on a new high-end diagnostic solution. The ultimate vision of the company is bringing high-end diagnostic at affordable cost to all the masses. This is what
that sounds great. Okay, that sounds great. So, as all of us know that for last 7 months or so, entire world has been struggling with slowdown because of COVID. So, in fact, COVID has caused a very uh, deep economic injury globally, not only in healthcare but across industries. It has caused, but within healthcare, while it caused initial slowdown in some of the segments, but it also opened many opportunities for innovators, and entrepreneurs like Hasmukh. So, Hasmukh, before we talk more about COVID and evolution, so tell me about the diagnostic industry. How it looked like before COVID came into picture.
Yeah, so what I believe is unprecedented times shakes down all systems everywhere. Now, the epidemic of this scale, which with COVID, or maybe a war or any natural calamity, all cause a huge distress in the structure of society as well as the governance.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, we as a humans always will come together and make huge shift, which creates absolutely unthinkable new structures. In the end, we are left with a more sober and better, I'll say, system to face a next epidemic of this scale. Now, as we are discussing this, as we are already going through a wave of COVID-19 and suffering through it, I believe that we'll emerge as a highly equipped healthcare system. Yes, but as we are preparing ourselves,
Yes, yes.
as we are
Go
preparing
ahead.
for the wave, I would also like to discuss on what was before COVID, before
Yes.
it happened. So, of course, before the epidemic, I believe, at least in our country, we have been living with in dark age of diagnostic. Now, for
Mm-hmm.
years and years, I have personally not seen any huge upgrade, though desperately needed over many territories in our country itself. Now, we were still using dated methods of assessing diagnostic, while the world has already moved to newer and newer ways or technologies to look into the diseases. Now, very recently, you might have also gone through the article where Amitabh Bachchan is saying himself has found to be living with a less than half or almost a quarter of his liver because he has received untested blood through the transfusion. Still today in India as well, a test which is mandatory in most of the globe, called NAT, which you test HIV HbSC in the blood bag before given to the patient on the bed, still is not a mandatory test. It shows how unprepared we as a infrastructure were in terms of diagnostic space. Now, one more reason for this molecular or high-end diagnostic, which I feel, apart from being cost, was it was limited and inaccessible. Most of the centers across India were not had or have had these kind of facilities. They were not even trained. There were no infrastructure or the manpower available to do these kind of testing. Now, also there were a very limited portfolio of the tests which were readily available to the centers across country, and on top of it, there was no awareness. Now, if a common man before COVID, if you ask what is high accuracy diagnostic, what kind of test let's say for HIV also what kind of tests available, even the common man was not aware. So there are many lacuna itself in the system where, and there was never a media talking about what is specificity or sensitivity. So all these
That's
were
right.
the factors where I feel we have been lagging behind a lot in diagnostics.
Yes, so you're right. So there were gaps as far as Indian diagnostic industry is concerned, but I think COVID actually has exposed global healthcare systems, and there you've seen there have been gaps in healthcare systems in most developed countries, including those in Europe and UK or maybe US. So all those countries are also having gaps in their healthcare system, and COVID has actually propelled innovation or maybe uh, uh, transformation right. Channelize the transformation in right direction.
Yes, yes, it did.
Yeah, yeah. So, in specifically when we talk about India, we have seen that innovation or changes in healthcare were very very slow paced over last 70 years, and then we saw some transformation happening over last 6 or 7 years, and then COVID came into picture, and whatever could not happen in last 60 70 years suddenly happened in last 6 7 months. So what are your thoughts about it, and how did you manage such a rapid change?
Yeah, so I do agree. What we could not do in a healthcare system for last 60 years, we could ramp up and do in last 6 months. And this definitely I do believe what Dr. Sachin is saying. So of course, in such kind of epidemic, we always come together. This is what I always been saying. And
Yeah.
what I see happening is a complete ramp up of diagnostic infrastructure in India, be it a private space or be it a public sector. Now, just as to give you a sense, today we have more than 2,000 labs to support RT-PCR testing. Now, this is a jump in an order of magnitude, which even was not thinkable to me. I never believed such kind of infrastructure will be ready in India. Almost every state or maybe a union territory today is capable of conducting advanced molecular diagnostics. Thousands and thousands of lab technicians have killed themselves to do these accurate tests with the accurate hand holding, and now ready to serve the modern high-end diagnostic systems. A large installation base of infrastructure, reskilled human capital will be remaining in place for years and years to come. So what it brings is we can adopt a new molecular technique very fast because this infrastructure is available. Now, in addition to this, what I feel is it is very accessible as well. Now, there are more than 100 Indian companies, though we have been the first or the innovator or leader in this, but there are more than 100 players now which are offered one or other type of COVID-19 diagnostic solution. Now, this what does it means is there's a more depth in our ecosystem itself to proport or propagate the high-end diagnostic solution. In addition to this, what I feel is we also have been working in terms of innovation, and innovative company or a startup which can move fast, quicker, which is adaptable, can bring the changes to the society when it is needed the most. We ourselves have brought a system called Compact Excel. It's a lab in a box machine, which specifically is targeted to do the penetration across all corners of country or the globe to do high-end diagnostic. Now, this will allow many entrepreneurs to set up labs at a low investment cost. It will also have users to establish labs at a strategic places like port or army base or oil field. You can take the machine and do the testing in a high throughput manner. Now, supply of raw material chain has been also improved significantly. The storage, handling of these reagent, the systems have been brought in place over the last 6 months. Now, the most important progress, what I feel is the common man has awareness about what does the sensitivity and specificity and accuracy really matter. How accurate test is very important when it comes to making important clinical decision. Now again, the media, the platforms like what Voice of Healthcare is doing, you guys have spent hours and hours to understand what accuracy means, and you made it very simple to the masses. Government agencies have communicated and educated the way the importance of these kind of tests. So I'm not surprised if today a layman asks what kind of test you are going to run for my HIV or dengue or malaria test. So I think this is a huge achievement when I see we have progressed over last 6 months in serving the country.
Okay, so you're talking about a solution which you developed, which can be used to set up labs at remote places. So can you elaborate a bit more about that solution and where have you actually deployed this solution? And people have taken advantage of this, and especially which geographies within India have you used it?
So, as a company, MyLab, we have been across all the states across India.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
have made BPMs, MTMs, extraction kits, RT-PCR kits,
Okay.
antigen kits, antibody kits, and a machine. So, the portfolio of COVID solution, what we have brought, I don't think
Mm-hmm.
any other company, be it at a multinational scale, also have brought
Okay.
to stop the
Okay.
pandemic or epidemic.
Okay. No, so I was asking about this solution which you said, something in a box whereby a lab can
Yeah,
be set up
compact.
at a, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
So I
yes.
wanted to know
So what
more
has
about
happened
that.
is,
Yeah, yeah.
So what has happened is a molecular lab. If you see, there are very few in India now. Why there are very few? There are 4 or 5 major reasons. I'll just though there are hundreds. The first thing is the space. You need around 1,500 to 2,000 minimum area to do a high-end PCR test. So it has a lot of manual steps. Because of its high accuracy, there is a high chance of contamination as well. So different areas allocated for different work. Number one. Number two, you need 4 or 5 experts to do all this into different area. Number three, because there's a lot of manual steps, carrying things, adding reagents, there are manual errors. There are chances of adding more or not adding enough reagent to get you the accurate test. Also, there is a lot of fatigue. A person cannot do more tests because of this. Now, what we have done is brought this whole 2,000 square feet lab within a 50 square feet area where you can keep your machine, keep your small ancillaries, and get the test done. Now, what it brings is, number one, you have brought the area in a box. Number two, you have removed the 4 or 5 experts into one normal technician. Number three, it is easily carryable. We are also working on a lab in a wheel model where you can carry it to a rural area, because you cannot expect a doctor going crossing the river, let's say in Bihar, and getting a high-end test done there. You have to make sure that it reaches there. If you cannot bring the people to us, we have to make sure the system reaches there. And innovation like this, what we have done now, let me tell you, it is a made in India machine. It's 100% developed by us in India, and all the components are made in India. And there are multiple patents filed across the global territories to make sure that we make this local product to a global scale.
Okay, that sounds great.
And most important factor is it removes the cost, the infrastructure cost, the capex, the opex, and the running cost. Everything at economy.
Okay, that sounds great, and I think it is a great forward step towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, which is vision of our Prime Minister also.
It is.
And earlier, a couple of years back, there were discussions that until unless we promote indigenous research and innovation in India, and the products which are well locally, we cannot achieve low cost healthcare. But I think whatever you have done at My Lab Discovery is great. Forward step in that direction, and such innovations are need of hour to make healthcare, high quality healthcare, accessible and affordable for everybody. That sounds great. So going forward, what do you see in future? You know, where do you see My Lab Discoveries going, and where do you see diagnostic industry going in next 4 or 5 years?
Yeah, so I think there'll be shifts across multiple dimensions. Now, firstly, I feel in future high quality diagnostic will not be that costly. It has to be affordable at mass. The companies which will do this will only survive and will be bigger in terms of not only revenue but the cost what they serve. Now, as the price of test reduces with the scale which we have already saw with COVID-19 test. Now we have adopted molecular diagnosis and masses in the country. We are doing as most the maximum number of testing, if I believe, at a global scale. Now we are hopeful that we will always reach a similar price points which will benefit the society over a longer term. Now, secondly, also I believe that innovative solution, the way we are doing Compact Excel, we are also working on many innovative solutions, wherein we have to make sure that the diagnostic becomes easy, affordable, and very accessible. If the companies don't work on these lines, I think they won't serve the real purpose, or the real awareness. They will not benefit of the real awareness what the COVID-19 has brought at a global scale. We should make sure that the diagnostic will reach small cities and rural areas. That is very
Right.
important, I feel. And we look forward for entrepreneurs in rural areas establishing labs or infrastructure to make sure that they earn out of the ecosystem. The way you would have seen the computer systems across when there's the IT era. I think there's a biotech era where you should bring these technologies at a rural area. Now, I believe the ecosystem will be very low
Hello.
if given right incentive to startups who can achieve great feats. We should prepare Indian biotech startups to create solutions which will be the platform at an international level. Now, at my lab, just to give you a progress, though we have been first to do this, now we are looking 5 or 10 years bigger jumps from here. We are already expanding our footprint into international borders. We are starting our plants at different geographies across the globe. Now, our dream is to help countries across and all the people across the globe. Bring this cutting edge diagnostic solution at an affordable price point. And to sum up, I think though they are difficult times, I believe we will emerge better and better over
Hello. 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 Hasmukh, I think we have lost you.
hello, hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think I got disconnected somewhere.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you're talking about way forward, and you're telling about your future vision. So probably you got disconnected. I was not sure whether I got disconnected or you got disconnected.
No, no
So
problem. No.
okay.
What I believe is there'll be a lot of shifts across multiple dimensions as we move from here. I think the first important point way forward for all the companies or all the players in this domain, be it the manufacturing or in service, to bring the high-end quality diagnostics affordable to masses, price point to the people who are at the receive end has to be very low. We have already seen this with COVID-19. The price have dropped from 9,000 to 4,500 to 2,500 to 1,800 and now 1,200. And I think the same will happen for most of the other tests. The test has to make sure that the product has to make sure that it goes to smaller cities and the rural areas. I think the entrepreneurs at rural areas should look forward in developing solution to give this kind of diagnostic test right at the base, rather than going to a high-end labs. So the lab should move to the rural area, what I feel. And I believe the ecosystem of innovation has to be motivated. Without
Right.
this kind of things will never emerge. We have seen this in COVID, and I think we should support small startup. We should give them right incentive to make sure that we achieve great feats with them. We should prepare Indian biotech startup to create solutions which will perform at an international scale. Now, just to give you idea about my lab, we are already increasing our footprint to our international borders. From the day we got the approval, which were a basic Indian company, we are already now starting our plans at international geographies. Now, our dream is to set up and help the people across the globe, give them cutting edge solutions at a affordable price point. And this is what we will continue to achieve over the next period of 5 years. We want to be number one leader in this space. And to sum up, I think though with COVID, these are difficult times, but we believe we will emerge better and best over a period to come.
Okay. That sounds great. Uh, since you are talking about taking high-end diagnostics to rural and semi-urban areas using digital technologies, uh, what kind of quality control processes are you putting in place to make sure that there is consistency as far as clinical quality or the diagnostic reports are concerned? So can you elaborate a bit more about that?
Yeah. So number one aspect of bringing a lab out of the lab or the healthcare infrastructure is the people or the user should not handle the reagents. They are very important reagents, has to be handled very carefully. Let machine do it. No pipetting at all. If you the time you handle the reagent, there is a chance that you are prone to error. So there cannot be a quality check when a person is handling the
Right,
test at the customer end. So
right,
remove the handling of reagents at all. Whole automation has to be at the setup so that once they start, there is nothing, there is no interference in the whole test. Number one.
right,
Number
right,
two, the reagent should be pre-filled. You should not handle even outside the machine. Though loading is one part, outside the machine also should not be controlled, should not be accessed. Number three, the access of the reports should be available over servers like cloud, where the data is traced, checked at a multiple level before a report is given. A system like blockchain will always help, where there is a quality control check, multiple checks on the process. And at the same time, while running the test, you should have quality checks inside the test. Let's say, for example, with MyLab kit, we have an internal housekeeping gene. Now, let's say a person which has not collected the swab correctly, no matter how many right tests you use later, if there is no sample taken correctly, it will always come negative. So you should
right,
have an
right,
internal control which will always show that the whole process has been also checked. And this is
right.
how innovative we as a company are. And these kind of systems has to be in place to make sure that at a rural area also, without any hindrance, you will run the test.
Okay, that sounds great. Okay, so for growth of diagnostics within India, and to make sure that Indian diagnostics actually go and grow beyond India, and we are able to cater needs, healthcare needs in other developing countries. So, what sort of incentives do you expect from government of India?
I think a player like us should have a front seat as well when having healthcare expenditure plan. Till date, Indian GDP expenditure on healthcare was almost nothing. You see the globe and you see what at a country is. You will know the ratios. So I think if
Yeah,
we get a front seat, at least we also have some comments to pass to the bodies when they decide. Now, diagnostic is very important. Let me tell you, because if you screen the disease at the right time, not only you contain, you save a lot of cost after that.
that's right.
Let's say in cancer, if you detect in stage 4, no matter how much healthcare expenditure you will do on the person, there is a very low chance that he will be the treatment will be successful. But if you detect very early, there's 80% chance that there will be no issue. So if you do the right test at the right time, I think there's a lot of saving you can do. And this is what healthcare expenditure should also consider. A high-end diagnostic uh, should have entry in insurance policies to make sure that the right insurance scheme with the right test is goes in parallel. So there's so many things I think where we as a diagnostic group should be involved in decision making, and I think that should be the first step to make
Sure.
sure that we move in the right direction.
Okay. So, my last question for today. So, what is your message for other budding entrepreneurs in diagnostic industry in India?
Uh, so number one, biology is a costly affair. Let me tell you, I know how much. So this looks good because we are successful, but there are
Yeah,
hundreds and hundreds of failure behind. Even we have
yeah,
faced over this
right,
journey. So
right,
yes, be prepared. You cannot should not be mentally not ready to accept the failure. We ourselves have been 7 years struggling company, and on eighth year we have emerged best. So many people say that it's an opportunity which we grabbed. I think I said no. It's like an Olympic. Though there is a
right.
7 minute kushti you have to play, or the gymnastic you have to do, but there's
Yeah,
a years and years of hard work. If it
that's
is not
right,
in place, you will not be able to achieve. So biology
right.
is not is a costly affair. 1+1 is not 2 in biology. Be prepared, but I can assure you this: the returns what biology can give, no other industry can give as well. So
That's true.
you have to be focused. You should not lose hope, and the scale should be global. If you want to just serve a small scale, you will always have a lot of issues. There will be local players, there will be fight at a local level. But when you're at a global scale, your plans and vision should be according to the globe and match not only on terms of quality but in terms of quantity as well. If you don't plan accordingly, I think as a small budding startup, they will always be struggling. So the plan should be big, but the start should be small. Small steps, take the failures, correct it, and keep moving.
Okay, so that's great. So thank you so much for your time today, Hasmukh, and my best wishes are with you for your so that you achieve your vision of becoming number one company in high-end molecular diagnostics globally. And thank you to Voice of Healthcare team and our audience who took their time out and were listening to us for last half an hour. And so good evening, everybody, and thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Thank you, Dr.